Chapter 9, Row Leap, November 1975. 7 months after the Khmer Rouge forcefully evacuated us from our home in Phnom Penh, we arrived in the village of Row Leap. It is late in the afternoon. The clouds separate in the sky and the sun shines beams of white light onto our new home. Row Leap looks like all the other villages we passed through our travels. Surrounded by the jungle, it is green and lush during the rainy season and dusty and flammable during the dry season. Looking up at the sky, I smile and thank the gods for giving me a safe arrival. This is our third relocation in 7 months, and I hope we will stay for a while. The town square is situated 40 feet from the road and consists of nothing more than a dried-up piece of land and a few trees. The town square is a place where people gather to hear announcements, instructions, work assignments, or in our case, wait for the village chief. Behind the town square, villagers live in the same kind of thatched roof huts that sit on raised stilts, all lined up in neat rows about 50 feet from each other at the edge of the forest. The truck driver orders the new arrivals to get out and wait for instructions from the village chief. My family quickly jumps off the truck, leaving me behind. Standing at the edge of the truck, I fight the impulse to run and hide in a far corner. All around the truck, villagers have gathered to take their first look at us new people. These villagers are all dressed in the familiar loose-fitting black pajama pants and shirts with a red and white checkered scarf wrapped around their shoulders or around their head. They look like an older version of the Khmer Rouge soldiers that stormed into our city, except they do not carry guns. "Capitalists should be shot and killed," someone yells from the crowd, glaring at us. Another villager walks over and spits at Pa's feet. Pa's shoulders droop low as he holds his palms together in a gesture of greeting. I cower at the edge of the truck, my heart beating wildly, afraid to get off. Fearing that they might spit at me, I avoid their eyes. They look very mean, like hungry tigers ready to pounce on us. Their black eyes stare at me, full of contempt. I don't understand why they are looking at me as if I am a strange animal, when in reality, we look very much the same. "Come, you have to get off the truck," Pa says gently to me. My feet drag my body cautiously toward his open arms. As Pa lifts me in his arms, I whisper in his ear, "Pa, what are capitalists, and why should they be killed?" Saying nothing, Pa puts me down. There are 500 base people already living in Row Leap. They are called base people because they had lived in the village since before the revolution. Most of them are illiterate farmers and peasants who supported the revolution. The Angkar says they are model citizens because many have never ventured out of their village and have not been corrupted by the West. We are the new people, those who have migrated from the city. Peasants who have lived in the countryside since before the revolution are rewarded by being allowed to stay in their villages. All others are forced to pick up and move when the soldiers say so. The base people will train us to be hard workers and teach us to have pride in our country. Only then will we be worthy to call ourselves Khmer. I cannot comprehend why they hate me or why capitalists must be killed, but this will have to wait. I walk over and take hold of Ju's hand, and together we follow Ma to the gathering at the town square. When I ask him what a capitalist is, he tells me it's someone who is from the city. He says the Khmer Rouge government views science, technology, and anything mechanical as evil and therefore must be destroyed. The Angkar says the ownership of cars and electronics such as watches, clocks, and television created a deep class division between the rich and the poor. This allowed the urban rich to flaunt their wealth while the rural poor struggled to feed and clothe their families. These devices have been imported from foreign countries and thus are contaminated. Imports are defined as evil because they allowed foreign countries a way to invade Cambodia, not just physically but also culturally. So now these goods are abolished. Only trucks are allowed to operate, to relocate people and carry weapons to silence any voices of dissent against the Angkar. Shuddering at Kim's explanation, I nestle closer to Ju and lean my head on her shoulder. While we wait for the chief, other trucks full of migrants continue to arrive. By the end of the day, approximately 60 families, about 500 new people, now fill the town square. As the sun lowers itself behind the tree line, the chief finally makes his appearance to the crowd of new people. He is as tall as Pa, with an angular body and cropped gray hair that sits straight on his head like dense jungle bushes. Where his eyes should be are two dark pieces of coal, separated by a sharp, thin nose, below which are thin lips that spit out saliva. The chief walks in a slow, casual stride, hands and legs moving precisely, deliberately. The black pajama pants hang looser on his body than those on the two soldiers who follow behind him. There is nothing remarkable about him, except that he is able to command 2 men who wear rifles slung across their backs. "In this village, we live by strict rules and regulations set for us by the Angkar. We expect you to follow every rule. One of our rules applies to how we dress. As you see, we wear the same clothes. Everyone wears his or her hair in the same style. By wearing the same thing, we rid ourselves of the corrupt Western creation of vanity. He speaks in the heavy accent of the jungle people, which is hard for me to understand. With a flick of the chief's wrist, one soldier walks up to a family. He reaches out and takes a bag from a woman. She lowers her eyes as the bag slides off her shoulder. He rummages through the bag and looks in disgust at the colorful clothes inside. He dumps the contents of the bag in the middle of the circle of people. One by one, this is repeated. Bags upon bags of clothes belonging to all the families in the square are dumped into a pile. Lying on top of the pile is a pink silk shirt, a blue jean jacket, and brown corduroy pants, all remnants of past lives to be destroyed. Before the soldier even approaches, Ma has gathered all our bags and put them in a small pile in front of our family. The soldier picks up our bags and begins to throw our clothes onto the pile. His hand reaches into one bag and pulls out something red. My breath quickens. A little girl's dress. He scowls as if the sight of such a thing turns his stomach, then balls up the dress in his hand and throws it on top of the pile. I follow the dress with my eyes, focusing all my energy on it, wanting desperately to rescue it from the pile. My first red dress, the one Ma made for me for the New Year's celebration. I remember Ma taking my measurements, holding the soft chiffon cloth against my body, and asking me if I liked it. "The color looks so pretty on you," she said, "and the chiffon material will keep you cool." Ma made 3 identical dresses for Drew, Geck, and me. All had puffy sleeves and skirts that flared above the knee. I do not know when the soldiers finished dumping all the clothes onto the pile. I cannot take my eyes off my dress. I stand there with Ma and Pa on either side of me. My insides are tied up in knots. A scream claws its way up my throat, but I push it all down. "No, not my dress. What have I done to you?" I scream in my head, tears welling up in my eyes. "Please help me. I don't know if I can handle it anymore. I don't understand why you hate me so much." I grind my teeth so hard, the pain in my throat moves up to my temples. My hands clench into fists. I continue to stare at my dress. I do not see the soldier's hand reach into his pocket and retrieve from it a box of matches. I do not hear his fingers strike a match against the side of the box. The next thing I know, the pile of clothes bursts into flames, and my red dress melts like plastic in the fire. Wearing colorful clothes is forbidden. You will take off the clothes you have on and burn those as well. Bright colors are only to serve to corrupt your mind. You are no different from anyone else here, and from now on you will dress in black pants and shirts. A new set will be issued to you once a month. To drive his point home, the chief paces around, looking at the new people in the eye, pointing his long index finger at them. "In democratic Campeche," the chief continues, "we are all equal and do not have to cower to anyone. When the foreigners took over Campeche, they brought with them bad habits and fancy titles. The Ankar has expelled all foreigners, so we no longer have to refer to each other using fancy titles. From now on, you will address everyone as Met. For example, he is Met Rune and she is Met Sre. No more Mr., Mrs., Sir, Lord, or His Excellency." "Yes, comrade," we reply collectively. "The children will change what they call their parents. Father is now Po, and not Daddy, Pa, or any other term. Mother is Me." I hold on to Pa's finger even tighter as the chief rants off other new words. The new Kamer have better words for eating, sleeping, working, stranger, all designed to make us equal. In this village, as in the whole of our new and pure society, we all live in a communal system and share everything. There is no private ownership of animals, land, gardens, or even houses. Everything belongs to the Ankar. If the Ankar suspects you of being a traitor, we will come into your home and go through whatever we like. The Ankar will provide you with everything you need. You new people will eat your meals together. Meals will be served from 12 to 2 p.m. and from 6 to 7 p.m. If you come late, you will get nothing. Your meal will be rationed to you. The harder you work, the more you'll eat. After dinner each night, I will let you know whether or not there will be meetings. The base people and our comrade soldiers will patrol your work area. If they see you neglecting your duties and report that you are lazy, you will get nothing to eat. My eyes follow the chief as he paces around the circle of people. I pray that I will remember all he has said. "You must follow all of the rules set for you by the Ankar. This way, we will never have to deal with the crimes and corruption of the city people." "Yes, comrade," the new people echo in unison. "Each family will be assigned a house in the village. Those who do not get a house today will be built one tomorrow. Your first work assignment is to build houses for each other." "Yes, comrade." "Children in our society will not attend school, just have their brains cluttered with useless information. They will have sharp minds and fast bodies if we give them hard work. The Ankar cannot tolerate laziness. Hard work is good for everyone. Any kind of schooling carried out by anyone without the government's approval is strictly forbidden." "Yes, comrade." "All right. You can sit down and wait while we make arrangements for your housing." The chief spits in the dirt in front of us again and walks away. As soon as he is out of sight, the nervous crowd separates to seek out shaded areas to rest. I lay down on a mat that Ma has spread out next to Ju and fall asleep. I wake up many hours later to the sound of people whispering nearby. When my eyes focus, I see that a large crowd has gathered a few feet from us, and Pa disappears into it. He comes back moments later and reports that a family, a doctor from Phnom Penh with his wife and their 3 children, have committed suicide by swallowing poison. Though we are all supposed to be equal, there are nonetheless 3 levels of citizenship in the village. The first-class citizenry comprises the chief, who has authority over the whole village, his aides, and the Khmer Rouge soldiers. They are all base people and the Khmer Rouge cadres. They have the power to teach, police, judge, and execute. They make all decisions, work details, food rations per family, severity of punishment. They are the eyes and ears of the Angkar at the local level. They report all activities to the Angkar and have full power to enforce the Angkar's law. Then there are the base people. If the first-class citizens are the all-powerful, brutal teachers, the base people are the bullies who work closely with them. Though they are not omnipotent like the first-class citizenry, they lead almost autonomous lives away from the prying eyes of the soldiers. They live in their own houses on the other side of the village, separate from us. The base people do not eat communally or work with the new people. However, they are often seen on our side of the village, patrolling the area and telling us what to do. Many are related to the first-class citizens and keep the chief informed of our day-to-day activities. The new people are considered the lowest in the village structure. They have no freedom of speech and must obey the other classes. The new people are those who lived in cities and have been forced out to the villages. They cannot farm like the rural people. They are suspected of having no allegiance to the Angkar and must be kept under an ever-watchful eye for signs of rebellion. They have led corrupt lives and must be trained to be productive workers. To instill a sense of loyalty to the Angkar and break what the Khmer Rouge views as inadequate urban work ethic, the new people are given the hardest work and the longest hours. Even among the new people, there are different classes. Those who were formerly students or involved in professions such as civil service, medicine, art, or teaching are considered morally corrupt. Then it's the ethnic Vietnamese, Chinese, and other minority groups who are considered racially corrupt. When asked about jobs in their former lives, the new people lie and claim to be poor peasants like Pa did, or small shopkeepers. In the Khmer Rouge agrarian society, only good workers are valuable. All others are expendable. Thus, the new people must work extremely hard to prove they are worth more alive than dead. Pa says because we are different, Chinese, Cambodian, we will have to work harder than the others. After the chief issues us our meal bowls and spoons and assigns us our hut, we have only minutes to settle down before the 6 p.m. bell rings, signaling mealtime. Gripping my wooden bowl and spoon, I run with my family to the communal kitchen. The kitchen is nothing but a long table, with no chairs or benches and under a thatched roof with no walls. In the middle of the open hall, there are a few brick ovens and one long table, but no chairs or benches. On the long table sit 2 pots, one full of rice and the other salted grilled fish. There are 6 or 7 base women stirring and scooping food from the pots. A long line of new people has already formed around the table. Like us, they have all changed from their city clothing into their black pajama pants and shirts, the only clothes we will wear from now on. My heart lurches as I see the long line in front of me. Eyeing the many black pots filled with steamy food on the ground, I tell my stomach to be calm. The line moves quickly and silently. Under my breath, I count the heads before me, eliminating them one by one, anxiously waiting for my turn. Finally, it is Ma's turn. She puts Gek down and holds up 2 bowls. She bends her head and shoulders so she is lower than the cook and quietly says, "Please, comrade, one for me and one for my 3-year-old daughter." The woman looks down blankly at Gek, who barely reaches Ma's thigh, and puts 2 scoops of rice and 2 fish into Ma's bowl, and 1 of each into Gek's bowl. Ma lowers her head and thanks the woman and walks away with her food, Gek trailing behind. My stomach growls loudly as I step up to the table. I cannot see into the pot, and my mouth salivates at the smell of rice and fish. I raise my bowl to my eye level and make it easier for the comrade to serve me. I dare not look up at her, afraid she might become angry with me for staring and not give me food. Eyes focused on my bowl, I see her hand dump some rice in my bowl and drop a whole fish on top of it. Somehow I manage to whisper, "Thank you, comrade," and walk away, praying I won't fall and spill my food. Sitting in the shade beneath a tree, our family eats the food together. Though it is the most food we have eaten in a long time, before nightfall we are all hungry again. Realizing we have to find a way to get more food, Pa somehow arranges for Kim to work at the chief's house as his errand boy. The next night, Kim comes home with leftovers. The chief did not have any work for me to do, so he tells me to work for his boys. The chief's 2 boys are my age, and they like me, Kim answers. His mouth turns upward in an attempt to smile when we ask how his day went. They boss me around, and I always have to do jobs and errands for them. But look what they gave me. They said that from now on I can take their leftovers home. We stare unbelieving at the rice and meat Kim displays on the table. You did a good job, little monkey, Ma tells him. Their leftovers are a feast. White rice and chicken. Look, Pa, there's even meat left on the chicken. I yell excitedly, staring at the juicy shreds of meat still clinging to the chicken bones. Quiet! We don't want others to hear us, Ma cautions me. Hungrily, my siblings gather round Pa, our bowls in hand. One by one, Pa scoots up some rice and gives us a piece of bone. When it is my turn, he will give me the piece with the most meat on it, the best breastbone. I walk over to the corner of the hut and proceed to pick the meat off until finally there is no more. Then I chew on the bones to get the flavor and bone marrow out. That night, I will go to sleep with a full stomach. Over the next few weeks, Kim and the chief's children become fast friends, and they allow Kim to bring us their leftovers every night. It is clear from the red marks on his face, cheeks, and legs that Kim suffers abuses from his new friends, who spit at him and beat him. However, at 10 years old, Kim knows he has to endure their cruelty to help feed his family. Each morning, as he walks off to the chief's house, Ma watches and whispers, "My poor little monkey, my poor little monkey." In appearance, Kim is beginning to look more and more like a monkey. His black hair is sheared close to his head and thinned from malnutrition, exposing his large forehead. Brown skin stretches over his gaunt face, making his eyes and teeth appear to bulge, too big for his young boy's face. Though I lower my head as his black-clad figure disappears, I am grateful for the extra food he brings us. My stomach knots each time I look at Pa's face as he receives the food from Kim. Pa is now so thin that his face is no longer the shape of a full moon. His soft body is emaciated, making him wince when Gek tries to crawl onto his lap. The round belly that I once loved to wrap my arms around is caved in, showing his rib cage. Yet he always takes the last and smallest portion of the leftovers. He eats the food tentatively, as if forcing each bite down when his heart wants to spit it back out. At times his eyes linger for many minutes on the fresh bruises on Kim's face, and he swallows even harder, trying to make the food go down. The pain on his face makes me feel such shame, but I am glad for my brother's sacrifice. Each night, in my dark corner of the hut, filled with shame and with quiet tears, I suck and chew the chicken bones until there is nothing left. In our new home, we have no time to get to know our neighbors, visit other villagers, take walks, or hold conversations with anyone outside the family. Social contact among the new people is almost non-existent. Everyone keeps to themselves, fearing that if they share personal thoughts or feelings, someone will report them to the Ankar. This happens frequently now, because turning someone into the chief can reap rewards and favors such as more food or, in some cases, life over death. Because of the extra food Kim brings home, for the first few months, life is better for us in our new environment. My parents, my older brothers and sister work in the rice fields while we younger kids stay behind to work in the community garden. I miss my family and see them only briefly each night when they return, exhausted from working 12 to 14 hours in the field. 3 or 4 times a week after dinner, the new people sit through an hour or more of meetings. The village is closed off to the outside world and even to other villages. Mail, telephone, radios, newspapers, and televisions are all banned, so the only news we get comes from the chief. "What was the meeting about tonight, Pa?" I ask, waking up from my sleep when he comes in late that night. Kissing my forehead, Pa says the meetings are the same as on all other nights. The chief teaches and explains to the adults the philosophies of the Ankar while all the new people sit and listen. The chief preaches and reveres the achievements of the Ankar, the philosophy of the government to build this perfect agrarian society where there are no crimes, no deceit, no trickery, and no Western influence. The Ankar says our new society will produce many thousand kilograms of a rice surplus within 2 years. Then we'll eat as much rice as we want, and we will be self-reliant. Only by becoming self-reliant will the country be a master of its own fate. The chief says that the country will go through some hard times and not have enough to eat as it stops accepting charities from foreign countries. The chief says, by all of us working hard to grow rice, we will soon be able to feed the country. At night, fearing we will be heard, we say only a few quiet words to each other before going to sleep. In the dark, the soldiers patrol the area, listening and looking into the houses. If they hear or even suspect people discussing politics, especially capitalism, the entire family will be gone by morning. The soldiers tell us the family has gone to a re-education camp, but we know they have disappeared, never to be seen again. Day after day we work, 7 days a week. Some months, if we have been very productive workers, we are given half a day to rest. In those hours, Ma and us girls wash our clothes in a nearby stream, but without detergent they are not very clean. I look forward to those hours off as our special time together. Of the 500 or so new people in our village, there are only 2 or 3 babies among the families. Although I cannot fully understand her words, I overhear Ma say women are so overworked, underfed, and filled with fear that most cannot become pregnant anymore. Even when they do, many suffer miscarriages. Most newborn babies do not survive more than a couple of days. Pa says there will be a generation of children completely missing from our country. Shaking his head, he looks at Gek. The first victims are always the children. Pa says Gek will not become the Khmer Rouge's next victim because the chief likes him. The chief allows Kim to bring extra food home, and he knows that things are easier for us because of that. Pa works harder and longer than anyone else in the village. Because of his humble upbringing, Pa has many skills and can do anything the chief asks of him. He is a skilled carpenter, builder, and farmer. Pa is always quiet and even seems enthusiastic about the work, a trait which proves to the chief that Pa is an uncorrupted man. He picks Pa to be the leader of the new people, a position that comes with a raise in the food ration. Though the Angkar says we are all equal in democratic Kampuchea, we are not. We live and are treated like slaves. In our garden, the Angkar provides us with seeds, and we may plant anything we choose, but everything we grow belongs not to us, but to the community. The base people eat the berries and vegetables from the community gardens, but the new people are punished if they do. During harvest season, the crops in the fields are turned over to the village chief, who then rations the food to the 50 families. As always, no matter how plentiful the crops, there is never enough food for the new people. Stealing food is viewed as a heinous crime, and, if caught, offenders risk either getting their fingers cut off in the public square or being forced to grow a vegetable garden in an area near identified minefields. The Khmer Rouge soldiers planted these landmines to protect the provinces they took over from the Lon Nol army during the revolution. Since the Khmer Rouge planted so many landmines and drew no maps to where these mines are, now many people are injured or killed traversing these areas. People who work in these areas do not come back to the village. If people step on one and their arms or legs are blown off, they no longer have any value to the Angkar. The soldiers then shoot them to finish the job. In the new pure agrarian society, there is no place for disabled people. The Khmer Rouge government also bans the practice of religion. Kin says the Angkar do not want people worshipping any gods or goddesses that might take away devotion to the Angkar. To ensure that this rule is enforced, the soldiers destroyed Buddhist temples and worshipping sites throughout the country, with major destruction done to the area known as Angkor Wat, an ancient religious site important to the Kampuchean history. Covering more than 25 miles of temples, Angkor Wat was built by powerful Khmer kings as monuments of self-glorification in the 9th century and completed 300 years later. In the 15th century, Angkor Wat was abandoned to the jungles after an invasion by Siam and forgotten about until French explorers rediscovered it in the 19th century. Since then, the battle-scarred temples with their beautiful statues, stone sculptures, and multi-layered towers remain one of the 7 man-made wonders of the world. I remember that clutching tightly to Pa's finger as we walked along wide, crumbling corridors. The temple walls are decorated with magnificent detailed carvings of people, cows, wagons, daily life, and battle scenes from long ago. Guarding the ancient steps are giant granite lions, tigers, 8-headed snakes, and elephants. Next to them, sandstone gods with 8 hands who sit cross-legged on lotus flowers watch over the temple ponds. On the walls beneath the jungle vines, thousands of beautiful Aspara goddesses with big round breasts wear only short wraparound skirts smile at visitors. I reached up and cupped one of the breasts, feeling the cold, rough stone in my palm, and I quickly removed my hand to cover my mouth in a fit of giggles. Pa led me to a temple area where the trees were so tall that they seemed to reach the heavens. Their twisted trunks, roots, and vines wrapped themselves around the ruins like gigantic boa constrictors, crushing and swallowing the ever-turned stones. He lifted me over the wobbly steps to the dark mouth of the temple cave. "This is where the gods live," he said quietly, "and if you call to them, they will answer." Anxiously, I wet my lips and yelled, "Jumplit surdese, dite para!" "Hello, gods!" Then wrapped my arms around Pa's leg when the gods answered me, "Dite para, dite para, dite para." At the temples in this area, Khoi says the soldiers mutilated its animal guards and either knocked or shot off the stone heads of the gods, riddling the sacred bodies with bullets. After they destroyed the temples, the soldiers roamed the country searching for monks and forced them to convert to the Angkar. Those monks who refused were murdered or made to work in minefields. To escape its extermination, many monks grew their hair and went into hiding in the jungle. Others killed themselves in mass suicides. Although these monks maintained and took care of the temples, now they are left to the jungle once again. I wonder where the gods go now that their homes have been destroyed.